TJR's Tips, and I've got some really good tips for you. How would you like to make your room transform like this? It's very simple to do and it doesn't cost much money. Once you learn how to do it, you'll be fixing up every room in your house. With very little money and a little bit of elbow grease, you can achieve the same look. All I did was take this ceiling, which was a popcorn ceiling, and I scraped it down, smoothed it out, and I sprayed an orange peel texture on it. Then I took and cleaned up this crown molding, which was the existing crown molding. This is 3 1/4 inch molding up here. I cleaned that off and painted it white. I sanded this wall down right here and took the texture off of it. This is colonial doorstop molding, which is very inexpensive, about $4 a length. So that gives you a really nice look, the appearance of step crown when it's really not. This is crown molding that I put in this room, but I dropped it off the ceiling 1.5 inches. Then I put rope lighting inside here. So the rope lighting is just sitting in here. It doesn't get hot and it works very well. It was about $30 a length for this rope lighting, and it comes across the whole room. I had plenty enough to do this whole tray ceiling. Once I did that, I tied it into my light switch on the side, and now I have a beautiful rim light around this room. This is very easy to achieve. I'm going to show you how to do this in future episodes. But right now, we're going to go into the other room and we're going to start this step crown right here and smooth off the ceiling and show you how well this can be done. Okay, this is the room that we patched previously where we fixed this wall. Now we're going to take and scrape this popcorn ceiling down. As you can see, we want to get that smooth and make a nice look. We're going to put the double crown molding up. We're going to take these shelves off so we can get this done, and then we'll put the shelves back on. Alright, on top of that, we're going to have to tape off the floor because that mud can really make a mess if you're not careful. Once we tape off the floor and cover everything up, we're going to take this fan off, and then we're going to start scraping this ceiling. Let's get to work. Before you even attempt to remove the fan, make sure that there's no power to it at all. Now, once I determine there's no power, I turn up the switch and I check the switch on the fan and pull it. And if it doesn't come on, then I feel pretty safe, but I'm going to show you how to double check it after. We take this beauty ring off. There's just a little ring that turns and unsnaps. Once you take it and twist it, it usually comes off. You'll usually have screws on both sides, sometimes all 4 sides. Now I removed all of these screws except for one, just so I can show you easily how it's done. Okay, once we pull this down, you get a little close-up of here and you see the wires up here. Okay, we're going to pull these wires out and be real careful when you do this. You see this wire right here? This is your black wire coming from the ceiling. This is your power wire. This is your neutral right here. So if you take a tester and you touch these two and it doesn't do anything, then you know that they're dead. You're okay. You take those 2 wires, you make sure to tape these up when you remove the fan. This is your ground wire. You don't even have to worry about this when it can leave exposed. It's going to be a bare copper wire coming from your ceiling, and it's a green wire on your light fixture or your fan. The black wire and the blue wire coming from your fan will hook up to the black side. Okay, now the neutral side will have a white wire. The white wire from the fan goes to the white wire on the ceiling. Now that this is removed, we're going to tape these up, and then we're going to take and lift this up right here. Once we lift it up, it'll remove out of this cradle and we'll set it down. When removing the fan, make sure you don't push on these fan blades because you can knock these out of balance real easily. They're very sensitive, so don't do anything to push these fan blades. We'll just pick it up by the body. Once it's picked up out of here, makes a little bit of noise, you just take it down. This is what I mean by making sure that you don't have pressure on these blades. Like I said, these blades can get knocked out of balance real easily. So I just took a little stack of books, and I happen to have a basket here. We set it right on top of there, and this is safe and secure until I come back to it. Everything that we needed to cover is covered, including this junction box. On here, what I did was I took newspaper and I wadded up and I put it in a baggie. That way I have plastic around it, and then I'm going to take this and I stuff it in the hole. That way I make sure that those wires don't get wet. Here's another great product that works really well. This is a Homax Sealing Texture Scraper. Now what this does is it catches the mess that I have off the ceiling. What you do is you put a little shopping bag on here. Any one of those little plastic bags, they will clip on here with these little plastic clips. You stick the bag over it and you lock it in with these clips, and you fill the bag up with texture when you scrape it. Then you take the bag and discard it. I make sure I cover the floor real well. I spray this down. I do one little section at a time. When you come to a tape joint, see where the tape is. If the tape is like this, run along the tape this way. Don't go this way because you're going to peel that tape up. You don't want to peel any tape up that you don't have to. When you get to a joint, just be careful. Go along the tape line, and then that way when you come back to skim it, you can lightly hit those little areas. If you gouge it a little bit here and there, that's nothing, and I'll show you how to fix that. Okay, let's get started on this. I use a regular bug sprayer when I do this. I just wet this ceiling down real good, wet it down a couple of times. I take a section at a time. I'll wet it down 2 or 3 times in that section, then I'll come back and scrape it. Now, if you have a semi-gloss or a gloss on the ceiling, if someone painted that prior to this, or you have a bunch of coats on there, it's more difficult, and you may have to spray it, scrape it, and spray it and scrape it a few times. But 90% of the time you can come by, or 99% of the time you can come by and wet this ceiling, because usually it's just ceiling paint on there, and scrape it right off and take that popcorn off with it. So we're just going to wet this down, get it good and wet, and then we're going to come back and scrape it off. Once I place it on here, it comes off like butter. I just scrape it right down the line. You can see how it comes off. You see, this can be a mess. You don't want this all over the floor if you can help it. Well, I'm a little bit dirty, but it only took me about an hour and a half to get this whole ceiling scraped. All right, in this sides right here, you want to clean all of this up, okay? I take and wipe my walls down good, because you don't want all that drying on there. It's just something you have to worry about later. You see this little bitty gouge? This is not bad. You might get a little parts of this where the knife catches it when it's real wet and scrapes it a little bit. We're just going to come back over after with some mud and we'll skim that. Now that the ceiling is completely scraped, we're ready to let it dry. Tomorrow we're going to mix up the texture, hit some of these little spots and make them smooth, and then we're going to blow the ceiling. We did a good job of this yesterday, and it didn't take me but a couple of hours to scrape this down and clean it up. Now all I have to do is hit a couple of skim spots, and then we'll hit these little fray marks right here. We're going to take a pole sander and sand those down slightly, and those will be real easy to clean up. All you have to do is sand that with a pole sander after it's dry. Do not touch it when it's wet, because you'll make it fray more. And if you look down here, we really don't have much of a mess. This is why I use that Homax Texture Scraper. All I do is scrape it, it goes into the little bags, and I can discard them. It's a lot easier than having it all over your feet and all over this floor. As you can see, it really didn't make much of a mess. Okay, now 10 minutes of sanding and it's done. We're going to come back over and skim these little spots, and I'm going to show you a few little spots. If you see something in this ceiling now, you're definitely going to see it when you put that orange peel. It's not going to hide it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to point out a few little spots that we need to hit. You see these little spots? It's not much, but that's where they had screws, and you see how it's divoted in there? All we have to do is skim that, and that'll look perfect. As you can see, this ceiling is really slick. There's only a couple of spots that you can see dark spots on, and that's only because the primer is still wet. Once that primer dries, we're going to put a light orange peel. Okay, we're wrapped up for now. Next video, I'm going to show you how to mix the mud properly, get it exactly the way you want to make a nice orange peel, and I'm going to show you how to use a hopper. We're going to knock this ceiling out on the next video, and I'm going to show you a few extra tips. You won't want to miss it. Until then, subscribe to my channel, Toolman PJR. I'll see you later.